I've had this planer for a few years. It's the first one that I purchased. I think a lot of people have this version, and one of the things you do notice is that there's some snipe, like most benchtop planers. What I actually did was I tried to level out the planer wings with the bed cover, and this bed cover never truly sat flat on the grate that you see there in the planer. I could never get the corner of this edge lined up with this one. And as you can imagine, if it was popped up a bit, when the wood travels over it, this surface would actually turn out to be lower than the planer wings. And I like a truly flat surface. I started two-way taping melamine to this when it was sitting inside the planer. And then recently I went to take off the melamine to replace it. It was a bit beat up. And this actually came out off the grate. You can see the 4 tabs there, 2 on each side, that just insert inside the planer bed. And then when I pulled the melamine up, it ripped this out of the slots and actually bent it. So I can't use this anymore. My plan is to create a melamine planer bed to replace this. So I'll keep this off and the 2 wings, and then I'll fix the new bed to the planer. But I also want to make it so it's removable, so I can store this away when I don't need it. And so let's get started.
I'm going to use 2-inch oak for this. I have a lot on my rack and I don't feel like going to the store to purchase more. I'll cut the MDF to 13 inches wide. Bo Jackson. I'm going to cut the melamine to length.
So I cut the melamine and the MDF to 4 feet. So I just need to find the middle of that, and then each side mark out 5 inches. So actually the bed is 10 1/8, so I'll need to find the center of that, and then I can go ahead and place my holes for the bolts to go through. What I should mention as well, how it's going to be held. So on top I'll have the MDF, those 3 oak pieces. The bolt will come down through those, and then underneath I'll have washers sitting on top of the nut so that it holds it on both sides. It doesn't have to be super tight, just enough so that it doesn't move and it's flat to the planer bed. So what I'm going to do now is just measure out where the holes will need to be placed onto the MDF. I'll attach the MDF to the oak before drilling, but I'm just looking for a measurement here first. And it looks like the ones on the side are 1.5 inches to center from the edge of the planer bed. And then the one in the middle is 6.5 inches. So I'll transfer that to my MDF, and then I'll fix the MDF to the 3 oak pieces. Okay, so I've got this laid out. Since the bed is 10 1/8, what I did was I just took 5 1/16 from the middle, so to each side. So I've got 5 1/16 there, 5 1/16 there. This is the edge, these solid lines. The dotted lines are 5/8, which puts us at the center of those holes that are in the grate. And what I did was I just measured where I wanted the bolts to be that go through the oak. They're closer to the edge. So I've got 4 of those marked out, and then I've got 1 in the center of each side where I'll need to drill. So next step, I'm going to go ahead and affix the MDF to these 3 oak pieces that I have, and then I can go ahead and drill. I'll start with the side closest to me. I'm going to put a little bit of glue. Not going to try and spread it around too good, as I am going to get a new planer in the fall, so this will just hold me until then. So this is what we have so far. I've attached the MDF to the wood. Everything's evenly spaced out, flat against the MDF. And then what I'll do is I'll attach 2 pieces of wood, 2 strips right here. So it'll just sit tightly on the planer bed and no movement left or right. I'll add some end pieces to make it look nice, but right now we're gonna go ahead and drill the holes for the bolts. Okay, so I've got the bed propped up here, some boards, just so when I drill through, it doesn't go through my assembly table. My drill press table is a bit small, so I'm just gonna freehand this with the drill. These bolts are 3/8 inch, so I've got 6 to drill, and I'm just gonna try and drill them as straight as I can. Okay, so we've got the 6 holes drilled for the bolts. Now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna countersink them a bit into the MDF It's only 1/2 inch, so I don't want to go too deep. And then I'm just going to take a Forstner bit to the melamine top and take a bit off of that so that the bolt head sits in between that gap, and then they'll be secured there. Okay, so I've got the Forstner bit holes drilled. That's complete. What I'm doing now is just tracing over those locations to the melamine. So when I stick the melamine on the MDF, it's going to sit flush, and then the top of this bolt will just be in between the two sheets in the hole. I've taken some of the material off the melamine. I'm just going to flip it over. I put all 6 bolts in. They just sit a bit proud of the MDF. So now it sits flush. At this point, I have to be honest, I wasn't thinking about how I would affix the melamine to the MDF. I just figured I would figure it out when I get there. I'm here now, so 2 options I can think of is to pilot hole and then screw through the bottom, or I can go ahead and put the JB weld on, or do both of them. So I'm just going to think about it for a bit and then move forward with whatever that is. Before I do put the melamine on though, I am going to test fit it on the planer. Once it does fit, then I'll go ahead and take that step. So I decided to go with the JB weld. You can always screw after. No method to my madness here. I'm just going to squeeze this whole tube out. Mix it up. Try to apply it as fast as I can. They give you this little popsicle stick. Gotta mix it good. Try and do the perimeter and also the middle part where the bed will be. The stick isn't working out too good. I'm gonna have pressure so it's gonna spread out, but try not to put it on too thick. Okay, I'll go ahead and sit the base on the melamine. Try to get it as close as possible, and then I'll adjust it. All right, I'm gonna let that sit. Might have gone overkill with the dumbbells, but I had them, so I just threw them on. The JB well is cured, worked out pretty good. Everything is flat. So I've gone ahead here and inserted the new bed into the planer. I lowered it all the way so it squeezed the bed against the base of the planer bed. And then what I've done is taken a piece of wood on each side, just put it flat against the bottom part of the planer, and then put glue on it and then tacked it in with nails. And right now you can see I put the washers in. So these washers will grip each side of the lip of the grate. And then I'll go ahead and put the nuts on and tighten that down. Not too tight, just enough to hold it there and hold it flat. And then what I'll do after this is go ahead and apply some end pieces to make it look decent, and then give it a test run. Okay, so I've got the nuts on. It went pretty good. I've just got them on there firm, just to hold the washer against the grate. There's no movement from the bed. Now I put 1/4 inch plywood just at the ends of each side to make it look a bit better.
I'm going to use 2-inch cedar for this test. I do have a bunch of oak on my rack, but I didn't want to mill down another piece of oak, so I'll just use this. It's about 3 feet long. Smells a lot better as well.
I'm done. I just ran this 2-inch piece of cedar through and it did really well. I checked it for flatness with a straight edge. It was fine. I don't see any visible signs of snipe, so that's a bonus. As for the planer bed, it's about 3 inches thick. That does leave me with another 3 inches clearance, but I've never really planed anything over 2 1/4 inches. So I'm good there. This is just temporary. It's going to get me through part of the year. I will be getting a new planer once I move, but for now this will do, and I'm pretty happy with the results. Comment if you have any questions. If you do subscribe, I have more videos coming on how I'm upgrading my tools, so stay tuned.